Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Let's Talk Broncos, brought to you by Mile High Sports. I'm your host, Bree Maestas, joined as always by Zach Seegers and Joey Richards. You can find all of Zach and Joey's excellent work over on milehighsports.com and catch all of our previous episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Joey, Zach, how are you both doing today?
I'm doing good. I went to the Rockies game last night, which was interesting. It was fun. I'm not a big baseball guy, but man, for a sport that is so slow, and I don't watch baseball like that. I can't believe there's challenges in it. That blew me away when I saw the Rockies were like challenging the play. I was like, okay, can we hurry this thing up? Like, I don't know, but yeah, it was fun overall. I've had a good day. Zach, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited to have Broncos football back. Excited to be back doing the training camp thing again and diving into the season, watch this team play, learn some of the new breakout stars and everything. It's been really, really fun.
Yeah.
And as everyone knows, today was the first day of training camp open to fans. I think we all had a tremendous time out there. Zach was covering it there on Twitter. You can find the thread if you go follow him over there, Zach_Seegers. I want to remind anybody watching on Twitter that you need to jump over to the YouTube stream, which is linked in the thread, so you can get your questions and comments highlighted on the screen. And I've got to say the energy and excitement today, the crowd was cheering, the field was loud. There was a lot of energy out there. Zach, how did you feel about today, and what did you see out of training camp that you want to start talking about tonight first?
Yeah, I thought there was a lot happening, but I think the first thing to address is a bit of a mea culpa on these running backs. I'm maybe shouldn't have been as harsh as I was on Melvin Gordon, and maybe we should pump the brakes a little on the Javonte Williams stuff. I thought Melvin Gordon looked fantastic today. I thought he had the best runs of the day. I saw an article out there highlighting him as one of the players that had a rough day. I couldn't disagree more. I thought this day was awesome for Melvin Gordon and for him maintaining that role as kind of the 1B back. I think Javonte's going to be 1A at least. I think that's set in stone. But if Gordon wants to be the 1B instead of the 2 back, he's going to need more camp performances like today. I thought he was awesome. His vision was evident, finding cutback lanes, finding the hole. While Javonte, frankly, maybe was just going up against the first team defense more. And, these guys not really blocking at this point. But Javonte was stuffed frequently while Melvin Gordon had a few big runs. And that, I don't know, made me a little nervous about Javonte because it looked like some of the outside zone looks we saw from him last season.
So you're saying while both running backs were getting the ball in the end zone, Gordon was doing just a little bit better.
I didn't see any. I'm talking in general, which
Okay.
I think favors Gordon even more so, not just about the end zone.
Go ahead, Joey.
I will say this too. I wasn't there. I'd like to also throw this out. I was not there today, so I'm going to be kind of learning more from Bree and Zach here. But I will say this, that for running backs, it's so tough, especially for a guy like Javonte Williams, where his contact balance is like obviously the number one thing, and he's not just good at it; he's elite at staying up. And to highlight that type of stuff, it really is going to have to be like a live type of thing. It has to be preseason. That's the type of arena or regular season, an actual game. Javonte Williams, that's where his strengths are going to shine. You do want to see the vision improve upon. To Zach's point, that's one thing that I think all Broncos fans can take away from last year when you're analyzing his film. And that's something you can kind of pick up on in these training camp practices. Now, I will say I think we should, and I don't think Zach's like saying that Javonte Williams isn't going to be good, but maybe before we all because I could see a way where Javonte Williams doesn't look good at this point, because I don't think he looked that great last year in training camp, if I'm being quite honest with everybody. I think we should at least wait a little bit until the pads start to come on and we see more full contact.
Okay, that's fair.
I agree with Joey. I think this is not the time of year we're going to see a guy like Javonte Williams really, really shine. That said, I would have liked the vision to look a little, I don't know. I would have liked to see him finding those holes the same way Melvin Gordon was. If he was doing that, oh man, I'd be buying all the Javonte Williams stock in the world, because I think that vision stuff is his only question. And I do think the difference in those two running backs in terms of vision was fairly stark today.
I'm just going to say there's no edge of cliff coming up right now, at least not for this first week of training camp open to the public. Do you want to switch over?
We made it through the first training camp practice.
We made it through 2 hours. Let's go. Broncos country, let's ride. I want to hop over to the other side of the ball. Next note up is going to be DB showing out. Zach, what did you see from the defense, specifically the secondary? I know the cornerbacks and safeties were kind of eating it up out there.
Yeah, and I know you saw some great DBs too, but the two I wanted to highlight were PJ Locke and Ronald Darby. Ronald Darby, it's a little quicker. It was just one fun little tidbit. You had the fade route. Sorry, I spaced it on the name fade route. You had Sutton one-on-one fade route against Ronald Darby. It was a real post-up play where Wilson just like got the snap, took a step, threw it up to the back corner pylon. And Ronald Darby played it perfectly, won the rep. Sutton tried to adjust late, and rather than like go for a jump ball, tried to flip and like do over his shoulder like a toe drag deal, and nearly pulled it off, which would have been phenomenal. But it was just a really nice rep from Ronald Darby. And the defensive backs were all right by us. So I had some great moments, like K-Jack walked off the field with the first team defense at one point and was like, woo, woo, just like as loud as, like you could see him trying to get louder and louder. I think he wanted the fans on the berm to hear him, and he was on the complete opposite end of the field, so that was fun. But here we had Asang Bassi after Darby's breakup yelling like, oh, that was disrespectful. That was disrespectful. And that was, I don't know, there were just like some really fun character moments that were great to see. Good rep from Darby. And then PJ Locke, I thought, was one of the biggest stars of the day on defense. And I'm not just saying that because he was a friend of the show. Cody made sure to grab him after the practice because he thought he was the number one player. Made sure to highlight him in our post-game training camp show as the player that really stood out to him on defense. And I agree, he was all over the place. Montrell Washington, who we'll get to in a second, almost had 3 touchdown passes today. The reason he didn't, Josh Johnson placed the ball a little behind, and PJ Locke made an incredible diving PBU in the back of the end zone. Was just, sorry, no pun, but just was locked down today. Looked to me today, he might have been the second best safety out there behind only Justin Simmons. He was phenomenal. So all the credit to him.
Yeah,
speaking of Justin Simmons, there was pretty tight coverage there in the red zone action that was happening on my side of the field.
Reception. Sorry, another Derrick Henry moment on my part. I'm blaming baking in the sun, but 3 TD receptions.
It was a hot one today. That coverage in the red zone action today was exciting to watch. Obviously, Patrick Surtain and Justin Simmons were eating out there. You could see them playing pretty tight coverage, and Russell Wilson was able to get that ball in there, although Patrick Surtain was all over Albert O today, which was just fun to see because you're thinking, you're going to see a mismatch, and you're not. And the defense was having a ton of fun, specifically when Justin Simmons had kind of that game end interception in the end zone, lays down with the ball, holds it tight. He's sleeping like Steph Curry out there, which I thought was hilarious. And I just want to point out all that energy that was out there was felt on both sides of the ball. They were having a ton of fun out there, and it seemed very genuine. It seemed appropriate for what was going on, but the defense kind of shined today. I think that there was no complaints from what I could see out there.
It's exciting to hear PJ Locke doing well, man. Friend of the pod, right? PJ Locke, great guy. I loved his story. So it's awesome hearing that he's playing so well. I mean, that safety room is loaded in a lot of ways. Like, I don't think like we have like 6 starters or anything, but from top to bottom in that safety room, you have a bunch of different guys that you could see filling in the back end of that roster, contributing on special teams, as well as I don't think that PJ Locke can't go out there on the field and get snaps. I really don't. I saw it in the preseason last year. I thought he was good. And if there was a situation where, so if you got a bunch of players hurt in that safety room, I wouldn't be like, oh no, we have to play PJ Locke, right? Like I could for some other Broncos players if that same situation happened.
Yeah, I think the Broncos safety room did on what you're talking about with the talent there. I think the Broncos are going to be in a position where they kind of have to carry 5 onto the active roster. I just don't know. Obviously, Simmons is safe. Obviously, Stearns is safe. I think Kajak pretty obviously is safe. And then I don't know how you move off De'Laren Turner Yell, who you just invested a solid pick in. Like maybe you do, but I think he was drafted to be a special teams ace, and I believe he'll be able to do that as a rookie. We'll see. Maybe he has a really disappointing camp. But then I don't think you can move off PJ Locke either. I think you're going to have 5 safeties, and I think that's an easy pill to swallow because you're going to be playing a lot of those 3 safety looks this year with Ejiro Evero really hammering home how much they're going to be playing dime.
Did we see any Jamar Johnson? I'm just interested. Did he do anything today? I not because I'm like,
I don't know if I even saw him. I'm sure he was out there, but
yeah,
if I'm being just totally honest, he didn't register a single time for me today.
He's just such an interesting case study because he's very, very good in one area and then in another area very, very bad. So it's
it matters in the draft, even with a steal like him who had like 2nd, 3rd round talent. I just don't think he fits well in this system. I bet if the Broncos move on from him, a team like the Cowboys who fit him a little better and have some safety depth concerns, I could see them picking him up.
Yeah.
I did want to answer Jones' question. Can you guys share more about the Russ interception? Who tipped the pass? I believe that was K'Wan Williams. Is that correct?
It was off of Judy.
Was
the
it?
one that Simmons got? It was one of Judy's drops. Now, to be fair, I think Lamney wrote in his article that it was, and he had a better view of it than I did from where I was standing. I think he said it was broken up. But from what I saw on Mario's video that he uploaded, had a really good angle from his VIP seat. It looked like it kind of went off Judy's hands. And I have a feeling that that's what Indy's trying to twist the dagger on a bit here. And honestly, Judy, it kind of goes into talking about the receivers here. Judy's did not have the best day today. I hate to say it. It was not great. He had a few drops. I don't think it was as bad as some people were making it out to be. Like, it wasn't an atrocious day.
It was noticeable, though.
Yeah, it was a negative day. And I think on a day where there were so few people on the offense who had negative days, it stood out. But I don't know. I'm not freaking out about it. I think he had a couple drops. And to the people going, oh my God, Judy's drops problems. He had 1 drop all of last season, had one of the lowest drop rates in the entire NFL. So you can't just like hold on to that one Chargers game still. Like, there's a little more than that. And I'm saying that as someone who was low on Judy on our last show, but he did not look better than Devonta Smith today.
Did you see much Devonta Smith today?
I didn't. He did look better than what I've known to come to expect from Devonta Smith, an established quality wide receiver.
No, I may have been a little crazy on there. I may have been in it for the content a little bit, but
you can't break kayfabe.
Yeah. Well,
nice.
Okay. I'll still argue it. I mean, it's first day of practice, guys. I feel like we're sitting around. I feel like there's a huge little community starting to build up of people online just waiting for that moment Judy screws up so that we can all yell at him at once. It's starting to feel like that a little bit more than any of the other Broncos, in my opinion.
There's a pitchfork or two.
There's a bit of it. He's the new guy.
Yeah.
I think that if we have to argue.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I'm willing to give him the shot this year. I really am. I liked him out of college. You can go back and read my tweets about him. At the time, I kind of flipped on him at the beginning. He was my number 1 wide receiver. I think I don't remember where I finished with him, but I know that my final thoughts were that I didn't think he was necessarily a wide receiver one, or he wouldn't be your ideal wide receiver one, but I thought he could be a really, really good wide receiver two for your team. I still think that he can do that. It's just putting it all together. So I'm willing to give the guy the year for sure.
That's fair. There was a lot of reliable passes thrown towards Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton, though. Did want to highlight those. They were performing both in the back of the end zone and in the corners. I think Russell Wilson is definitely finding his stride with his favorite receivers. Zach, do you think he's favoring any of them at this point, or is it too early to tell?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was the other point on the wide receivers. Thank you for bringing me back to earth. Montrell Washington stood out. And at those same online groups gathering to hate Judy, they were gathering around May and April to hate on Montrell Washington. And I was kind of with them, but man, watching this guy throughout OTAs, I was like, well, it's OTAs. And there's still some of that, like, well, it's training camp because it is just training camp. But man, every single practice I've been to, and I think I've been to every single one, including OTAs and whatnot. Maybe I've missed one or two, but I'm pretty sure I've been to every single one. Montrell Washington looks really, really nice. He looks really, really nice. He should have had that one touchdown I talked about where the pass was behind him. And again, he adjusted for it, had it in his hands, but Locke just made a better play on it. And then I think he had the two best offensive plays of the day, like a rep or two after that PJ Locke breakup. He burned another guy. I don't think it was Locke. I think it might have been Turner Yell or J.R. Reed. But burned him in the back of the end zone, had a good step or two of separation rather. And ripping through the ball a little too high, but it was in stride. And he went up for it, got down with the toe tap, just barely, and kind of rolled out of bounds. That was a pretty sweet one that ended one of the periods. And then down towards the end, when other players were doing autographs, they had depth guys running some final additional reps, and he had an unbelievable one where he was running, I think it was a drag route. It could have been a just a route out to the flats, but I'm pretty sure it was a drag across the field. And then right by the sidelines, I think it was Rip hit him. So he has all that momentum carrying him towards the sidelines out of bounds. And you saw him gather, chop his feet, like kind of to try and slow his momentum, and then dive, redirecting that momentum to get inside the pylon. And it'd be one where I think you'd have to replay it to see whether or not he got in, but from my angle, it looked like he got in just barely. And it was a different angle and everything from that famous Reggie Bush play, but kind of that same basic concept where you have all your momentum carrying you out of bounds, and he just made this awesome leaping effort to carry himself across the pylon. And yeah, stood out to me, both those plays. So, and then in the returning drills, noticeably stands out as their most electric returner. So I'm just excited to see it in live game reps where he's going to have to play through real contact and see how he adjusts to that.
That's exciting, man. For a player that when he came out, I think a lot of Broncos fans were really, really worried about. I remember that quote of him saying that he didn't think that he would be drafted. Stuff like that really freaked me out. Yeah, so that's exciting. Bree, do you have anything to add to Washington there?
It just made me want to root for him more, knowing so. I've had the opportunity to speak with him as well, and I just find it very endearing. You want to root for the guy. So coming into camp, I was calling him my rookie to watch, and so I'm just really excited to hear all of Zach's reporting on how well he is actually doing and being able to show out there during training camp. Glenn Hauser does ask, Zach, you're describing the returners in your thread. Do you think Washington will be that guy?
My dog's going crazy right now. That's fantastic. I really do think Montrell Washington is going to be the guy. Please stop. I think Montrell Washington is going to be the guy. I think was noticeably the best returner. Caden Davis was the only one I thought who held a candle to him. And you drafted Montrell Washington, so if it's close, you're going to give it to the guy you invested in. Thank you very much, Jedi Joshua.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Absolutely. I do want to also highlight one of Glenn's posts as well. I've lost it pretty deep in there. How soon into practice did Bree race onto the field to approach PS2? I didn't get the opportunity to, but Zach did text me and let me know how close he was to him in order to instill and bring out some vigor and envy from me. And it worked tremendously.
Rub it
So
in
kudos
Bree's
to
face.
Zach.
100% got to see PS2. Yeah, fantastic player.
Can I say something real quick while it's on my mind, just because it just hit me and I know I'm going to forget it. I want to point this out. There is a certain type of, and this, we're coming off of Washington, right? But this isn't to do with Washington at all. I'm just making a statement here. There is a certain archetype of player that performs really, really well. And this goes back to more of my Javonte Williams point that I made earlier. Without pads on, it's kind of like, I don't know if anybody in the chat here has played basketball, but like for me, I'm really good when I play in 3-on-3s, but I'm not very good because I've never played 5-on-5s. I'm just not that great in it. It just, things change, and I draw the parallel to without pads to pads. There's an archetype of player with a quick jitterbug type guys that are going to look really, really good in this time of year. And then when the pads come on and in game action, they're going to look completely, completely different. A lot of the stuff that they're doing and looks so nice right now may not work.
I don't like it. I don't. I don't like what you're.
No, it has nothing to do with Washington. I don't want this to be the point. I was just thinking about this because, I mean, I remember in high school, I'm not going to name names here, but I had a running back on my team, and he was exactly like that. And I was like, this guy is going to be the best player ever. Like, we have the best running back in the state freshman year. And then the pads came on, and it just didn't work out as well. It's just an interesting thing to look at. And it's more of a parallel to my Javonte Williams point, where it's like, hey, a guy like this may not look that great without pads on. There's like, with the pads, it changes the sport completely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great point. And it is early. Time will tell. Zach, do you know when pads go on? Is it next Tuesday?
Some pads, yeah, they'll start next week, and then they don't get the goofy helmet pads off until after the second preseason game.
I saw that, and I think that that's a protective measure. Is that new, or has that been?
It is. The requirement is new. They existed before this year, but the rule is new. And the interesting part that Hackett highlighted of that was how it protects the quarterback too. Of course, that's how Russell Wilson injured his finger banging his finger on Aaron Donald's helmet on a release. During practice, all the offensive and defensive linemen are wearing these. So if you are to inadvertently hit a helmet, and Russ isn't the only one to do that in recent years. I know it's happened in practice before, maybe Jimmy G, but I might be misremembering. Just less likely to happen. So I like it. Chubb said it was a little top heavy and weird.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Let's shift over a little bit. Let's talk about the linebackers and in their new roles. Zach, what did you see today, and of anything of interest that you wanted to point out and give the LTB community some insight on?
Yeah. So I was covering offense for Mile High Sports today. We've got me and Cody, and so it just makes sense. One of us on one field, one of us on the other. So I was zeroed in on offense today, so I didn't have too many defensive notes, except for like once they started scrimmaging and like a defender would make a splash play. Jonas Griffith made a lot of splash plays and in coverage too. For Broncos country, I know they've been furious of the lack of a coverage linebacker for so long. And I think Jonas Griffith is going to be a big help there from what I saw today. Of course, he has good movement skills. They're not elite like Browning, but he has very good movement skills and was just instinctive in coverage, was consistently around the ball making plays, had 2 PBUs, including a really, really impressive one. Wilson threw the ball low to Sutton to kind of dive for, because it was, one of those to protect the ball, put it where only the receiver can get it. And despite that, Jonas just made a really incredible diving effort to get in there and knock the pass out. And then he had another PBU too that stood out. So he was great. Baron Browning, the other linebacker I want to highlight, didn't see a ton of him today, but saw him actually do some good work in the run game, which I thought was very promising to me. There was one play on like a pitch to the outside. Offense's whole offensive line and everyone is rolling pretty hard to that side towards Browning's side. And he did a great job of setting the edge on that rep, and it ended up being a tackle for loss. He didn't get the tackle, but set the edge on it, kind of caused a traffic jam, and it was a really nice play from him.
Zach, have we seen, or Bree, have we seen Josie Jewell move around at all? Moving around?
Who?
Josie Jewell.
I did not pick up on Jewel today. Someone else asked me about it. Tomorrow I'll have better notes on that. Follow me on Twitter because I'll be zeroed in on defense.
Okay, cool. I'm just interested to see how he's moving around and how he looks out there.
I unfortunately didn't see him.
That'll be top of my watch list tomorrow.
All right.
Fantastic. Perfect. You can find that thread over on Twitter, Zach_Seegers. Any additional notes on that position group that you had before we move on?
Nope, that's all I had on a linebacker.
Fantastic. As we move away from players or just in general, that energy there, that shift that we've been feeling. I know Andrew Mason posted a photo showing last year's crowd to this year's crowd. And although it kind of looked a little bit similar, I do think that it was a little more volume intensive today, even though it was a Wednesday and it's early, it's the first day. But the fan presence and kind of the energy change with everybody involved and everyone in attendance was pretty stark. Zach, how did you feel about just the overall feeling of being back at training camp?
So it was better than it's been in recent years, but I was surprised at still how quiet it was. I've heard it. I've been on the beat for a few years now, and all the old heads, for lack of a more affectionate term, are like, oh man, you should have seen it during the Tebow years and during the Manning years, and how the whole berm was just loaded with fans and da. And that's what I was expecting, honestly. And then I saw Bree was on the fan side. She showed up and was like, oh my God, the line is crazy here at 8:30. And it seems like all the diehards felt like they had to show up early and showed up early. And then no one showed up after them. The berm was only like half full. It was more full than it was during like Locke and Teddy, and the fans were more engaged and excited. But it wasn't quite the show out I was expecting. I think Friday and Saturday are going to be pretty insane, but I think we saw the toll that like the last 6 years has taken on this fan base.
It's an interesting note. I think I'll be really interested to see after Friday and Saturday what happens. Once a lot of these fans get their first taste of training camp, are they going to want to come back type of deal?
I'm sorry, I was reading a comment. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, for sure. I was just saying that I think it'll be a big test to see after Friday and Saturday. I think we all expect those to be absolutely crazy loaded with fans both those days. But if it's exciting and people get into it, football season, you get that football season blood in you a little bit if they return, right? If that carries on past that week, past those days, I guess.
I think it has to ramp up, right? I think like maybe that's the optimistic side showing out. It gives you a little bit of hesitation, like, oh no, are we playing this up a little bit more? I think that the experience in itself, though, is it was part of what I was thinking. I did think it would be a little bit busier. I think maybe it was just a little more casual last season. And you're right, it didn't fill up all the way, but they also did extend the berm down all the way to the field. So it was a little bit deeper as far as how far you could go down. So maybe that changed a little bit, and they were really loading people front loaded instead of spread out. So that kind of made it look a little bit less crowded. I think there was more per capita, but I don't know exactly why there wasn't a lot of people there other than it's Wednesday. It's been a drought and the grass was wet. So like, there's just a lot of things, the variables that play into it. I thought I would see more people. There was a lot of like build up and hype. There was a very long line. I was not accustomed to it, and I was scared out there. But it's interesting to see now. So the energy that was really intense, and I do want to just note it was also coming from the players on the field. They were celebrating absolutely everything, every play that went well for their side of the ball. They were cheering. They were. It just seemed genuine. Everyone seemed very excited to be doing what they were doing, which is a stark difference from last season where it seemed quiet and straightforward and not a whole lot of, and this word is going to get very old by the end of all of this, but the energy was certainly different. So I think that we're just going to look forward to that ramping up. I think obviously Friday and Saturday are going to be more so. And then I think it's going to slowly build up prior to the season starting. Glenn Asprey, have you already mapped out your berm strategy for the future practices? I like to be well and away from all of the people. So you won't find me down in the mayhem of everything. I'm up on the concrete in the standing overflow area over by like this blocked off gate, but you can find me very easily. My hair is very bright and in the sun. So come say hello if you find me.
I'll drag Bree down there on Friday. I'm there on Friday, guys. Bree and I are going to be like in the middle of that grass field.
We're just going to be like putting our hands over there.
Come Friday, Bree's going to be shaking hands, kissing babies. It's going to be a crazy thing.
And I'll be doing some man on the street stuff for Mile High tomorrow, while like fans are walking in and players are stretching, and there's not good like minute by minute stuff to tweet out and report. I'll be doing some man on the street stuff. So if you're there, come over, say hi. We'll get you on Mile High Sports. Have a fun clip.
Cool.
Yeah. Any other notes that you didn't get to cover about training camp or questions that you have for tomorrow? If anybody has questions for Zach tomorrow so he can report it back to you all, please drop it in the comment section before we sign out. You can also go over to his thread or you can tweet directly at him, Zach_Seegers, so that he's able to take your questions and report directly to you exactly what you want to see from camp. That's the whole entire process of it all. So we appreciate the feedback. Yeah, absolutely. You guys want to tell everyone where they can find your stuff?
Yeah, everyone. Mile High Sports, obviously, and JR Drafts is my Twitter. Those are my two things.
Yeah, at Zach_Seegers on Twitter, Mile High Sports for all my writing. One last little baby take here. Brett Rippon noticeably better than Josh Johnson, in my opinion, today. Curious to see how that develops. But that was the only note I didn't get to. Yeah, go find my work over there. Mile High Sports on YouTube. We'll have some videos coming out that I'll probably be involved in too. So yeah, look over there.
Cool.
Awesome. Fantastic. Don't forget to download the Mile High Sports app where you can listen to everything live, look at all the podcasts and articles that are released by all of the contributors here, specifically Zach and Joey. And don't forget Cody Rourke's work, all for the Denver Broncos beat. You can catch me on Mile High Sports as well. Next on the Fan Cave on Thursday, 7 to 9. 98.1 FM, and we'll catch you all on the next episode of Let's Talk Broncos. See you all at camp. Have a great evening, and let's go Broncos.